The big political controversy has erupted and it involves AAP. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal passed the second directive from Enforcement Directorate custody, asking Health Minister Saurabh Bharadwaj, as claimed, to address the shortage of medicine and diagnostic tests at Mohalla clinics and hospitals. This comes after Kejriwal issued his first order on March 24, directing Atishi to address water and sewage-related grievances in Delhi. Controversy also erupted over the letter sent by the CM to Atishi. ED is investigating the matter and said no computer or paper was issued to Kejriwal. BJP has questioned the legitimacy of orders passed by Kejriwal from jail. BJP has also asked for an inquiry to find out who issued and directed the official letter. Meanwhile, AAP continued its protest against the arrest of Kejriwal and had planned a gherao of PM's office. Many of the protesters were detained. The BJP also held a counter-protest against AAP in Delhi, demanding the resignation of Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal. Let me play out some bites and then I'll introduce my guests, Desh Deepak Verma, constitutional expert, former Secretary General Rajya Sabha, and Ajit K. Jha, political analyst and a senior journalist. In studio, I'm joined by my input editor, Brijesh Pandey. But let me play out a couple of important bites and then we go straight to the story. One, can a state be governed from behind bars? And second, are the letters and instructions for real?
मैं अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की तरफ से सभी दिल्ली के लोगों को ये आश्वस्त करना चाहता हूं कि आपका मुख्यमंत्री चाहे जेल में है मगर सोच वो सिर्फ आपके लिए रहा है, सिर्फ और सिर्फ जनता के लिए मुख्यमंत्री सोच रहे हैं और उनकी चिंता यही है कि उनके जाने के बाद पीछे कोई व्यवस्था खराब ना हो और हम सब लोग जो उनके सिपाही हैं, हम सब लोग 24 घंटे काम करेंगे मगर कोई दिक्कत जो है दिल्ली वालों को नहीं होने देंगे। ऐसी मुख्यमंत्री जी की इच्छा है और हमारे लिए ये भगवान की आज्ञा जैसा है।
तो गवर्नमेंट अंडर ईडी कस्टडी तो है ही, सिटिंग चीफ मिनिस्टर है ना, इस्तीफा नहीं दिया। इससे पहले जब झारखंड के मुख्यमंत्री को ईडी के तरफ से गिरफ्तार किया गया था तो गिरफ्तारी से पहले उन्होंने इस्तीफा दिया, लेकिन केजरीवाल साहब ने नहीं दिया। वो सिटिंग चीफ मिनिस्टर हैं और ऑर्डर वहाँ से निकाल रहे हैं। वो जमहूरियत के लिए इस तरह सिटिंग चीफ मिनिस्टर को यूं डिटेन करना इस मुल्क के लिए और इस मुल्क की जमहूरियत के लिए एक अच्छी बात नहीं है, लेकिन ये दौर ऐसा चल रहा है और इसका हमें मुकाबला करना है।
कोई सरकार नहीं चल रही, आम आदमी पार्टी का जैसे चरित्र फर्जी है, इनके आदेश भी फर्जी है। रोज 10 सालों से आप सरकार में हैं, लोगों को पानी मिल नहीं रहा, बिल गलत आ रहे हैं, गंदा पानी आ रहा है। आज आपको पानी की चिंता याद आ रही है? अस्पतालों में नकली दवाइयां देने का काम अरविंद केजरीवाल ने किया, लोगों को जान से खेलने का काम अरविंद केजरीवाल ने किया। आज इनको स्वास्थ्य की चिंता हो रही है। सिर्फ सारा का सारा फर्जी वाला अरविंद केजरीवाल, कट्टर बेईमान, इस्तीफा देना होगा।
Now let me straight away go to Desh Deepak Verma. Sir, is it legally possible to run the government when you are being interrogated or in judicial or ED's custody? What's the legal position on this, sir?
You see, when the framers of the Constitution, they made the Constitution, probably they never thought of this situation because this is a very weird and out of the history book situation. Now, the provisions in the Constitution are silent on this, and therefore, technically, a chief minister, even if he is in the jail, he can continue to head the government. But having said that, the problem is that how does he do it practically? Because he is under the custody, and from there in the jail, he is under the supervision of the jail superintendent for the people whom he meets, for the papers that he sees, and for the official work that he tries to do. Now, whether practically that is possible to do, it is, I don't think, possible unless the jail superintendent and then the lieutenant governor or a court of law specifically provides for that. In absence of that, it will be very, very impractical, almost undoable for him to run the government from the Constitution, from the jail premises.
Ajit, how is it possible that from the ED custody, instructions are being issued? You know, this is a pure play journalistic question. One is the legal question, is it possible? Mr. Verma said, you know, there's ambiguity, you know, constitution makers never thought, you know, there would be a chief minister behind bar and issuing instructions. My question is on a very different plane altogether. Where are these instructions coming from? He doesn't have a phone. Either he has a big mole in Enforcement Directorate, working against the government of India, providing all the help, logistics and operational support to Arvind Kejriwal, or else, I really don't want to say that on television, someone is making up the instruction.
Let me raise 2 points, because the previous gentleman has already clarified the legal position, right? Legally, nothing prevents Arvind Kejriwal from being in jail and running the government. Now, the problem is the practical problem. Obviously, cabinet meetings, how do you hold, and things of that sort, right? Daily governance, how do you carry out? You know, in the past, we've had 1 or 2 cases, like the Sahara owner Subrat Roy was in jail. They had created a special cell for him, and from there he was operating, selling his properties and things of that sort, you know, to those people who deserved it. And he was allowed all kinds of access to internet and other things. So technically, it is possible in an alternative frame where he could have been placed either under house arrest or in a special cell where he can be given those facilities. However, I want to bring the entire debate to the fact that since elections have already been announced, the entire Mr. Kejriwal being in jail and the AAP working on the streets, carrying on agitations. On 31st May, they are going to hold a massive rally, is actually changing the terms of the debate. What I'm saying is that the agenda previously in this election was largely defined by Prime Minister Modi. Whether it was Pran Pratishtha in Ayodhya or it was, you know, several other issues. Prime Minister Modi defined the agenda in the entire run-up to the elections. I mean, to some extent, Rahul Gandhi tried his Nyay Yatra, but that kind of largely fizzled out. But now what has happened, since Arvind Kejriwal has been detained by the ED, look at how the media is treating the entire issue. Suddenly the issue is Arvind Kejriwal. The agenda has become Arvind Kejriwal. And although he's technically the culprit, there are allegations of corruption over 100 crores against him, but suddenly the way the AAP has brought this little change and in the narrative, it appears that he has become from the culprit to the victim. And there are people on the streets you talk to and they'll say, well, you know, given the fact that there was this bond issue had come up, so all the parties looked in a bit of a trouble. So why basically isolate Arvind Kejriwal? And suddenly this sympathy, I mean, technically, I think Arvind Kejriwal is no more the hero of 2011 India against corruption. Obviously, it's the opposite. Ironically, he's in jail because of charges of corruption. But the way the whole debate has gone about, the narrative in the country, in 2014 and 2019, it was Modi versus Rahul Gandhi. Slowly, it seems that from India Alliance, the tallest emerging leader in this case, whether famous or infamous, is Arvind Kejriwal.
That's an interesting observation.
Is becoming Modi versus Arvind Kejriwal, which I think favors the AAP. AAP as a party, Arvind Kejriwal as a personality, it helps that. So I'm saying the politics of it is very different from the intentions behind the arrest by ED.
Is it also because of this reason that Arvind Kejriwal decides not to go the Hemant Soren way? One, he is not leading a sort of a shaky coalition, he has his numbers. And second, suppose he goes away and he's not the chief minister, people will forget, he'll become irrelevant, you know. There is no talk of K. Kavita, Hemant Soren, so many people. But a sitting chief minister inside jail, every day you will have a conversation about him. Is that the reason?
Well, I think, you know, the reason is that AAP was creation of a guerrilla warfare tactics. And till this day, as we speak, they keep on deploying that. You know, Arvind Kejriwal, you know, issuing those 2 orders, forged or otherwise, have created a lot of political ripple and chatter on the ground, which otherwise would have been next to impossible. And this is not something which has happened just like that. Arvind Kejriwal was prepared about this day, and that is the reason why, if you remember, there were surveys done whether you would want Arvind Kejriwal to be as chief minister even when he is behind bars. Arvind Kejriwal is doing precisely that. And I think, the order, which the BJP claim is forged, has created a lot of embarrassment. The ED now will question Bibhav and also will try to talk to his wife about whether they carried any oral instruction from Arvind Kejriwal and passed it on to Saurabh Bhardwaj and others. I think, Arvind Kejriwal, given also the tyranny of distance, the fact that it is happening right now in Delhi, which is the center of all the national media, is getting the kind of traction which otherwise it would have been impossible had Hemant Soren done so. So I think, the placement and the timing is suiting Arvind Kejriwal to the T.
Okay. Another question to Mr. Verma, sir. Will it create the ground for the central government to intervene in the way Delhi is being run? Can you tell us, is that a possibility?
Yeah, that is a possibility. But before doing that, I just wanted to comment on what was being said earlier. I think Arvind Kejriwal is a smart mover, and he probably realized that by simply succumbing to pressure and appointing another chief minister, another person to heading the government, so he believes, he tries to do different things, and he tries to do them differently, and that's what people sometimes like it. So that is how he has been doing this. How long will it sustain? I do not know. And then I will come to your question. The question is that the lieutenant governor and the lieutenant governor who makes his recommendation to the president, if he is satisfied that there is, like the Article 239AB of the Constitution simply says that it is provision regarding the failure of the constitutional machinery. So if he believes that there is a failure of the constitutional machinery, and for that wide powers have been given to him to interpret what means the failure of the constitutional machinery. But that, of course, he'll have to prove it. He'll have to probably take all facts into account. And if he comes to the conclusion that there is a failure of the constitutional machinery.
So it's a calculated risk, sir. Which means it's a calculated risk.
It's a very calculated risk, and I don't
It's a calculated risk.
It is a calculated risk, and Arvind Kejriwal has that mindset that he will take the calculated risk and probably feel that I might gain something out of it, and maybe that he will not gain. It could be the either way.
Fair enough. You're saying it's a calculated risk. But Ajit, you were arguing that today it's become Ajit Kejriwal versus Prime Minister Modi. 2019, it was Rahul Gandhi versus Prime Minister Modi. But there was a difference. Rahul Gandhi never came across as a martyr, as an underdog. He could never reinforce that image. Even through Bharat Jodo Yatra, he still came across as a person of privilege. But in this case, do you think that he's still coming across as a martyr? Because ultimately, the issue is of corruption, which the BJP is hammering with.
See, the issue of corruption gets kind of sidelined because you have a massive issue of corruption in the bonds scam, right? Everyone, in fact, I've heard people talking when I go and talk to them, they keep repeating this ki is hamam mein to sare nange hain, sare paise liye hain. They keep talking about Santiago Martin and things of that sort. What happens in India, a person, if he's seen to be the target of the ruling party, then a sympathy gains towards that person. And Arvind Kejriwal has the advantage. He's a brilliant street fighter. We saw him in 2011 sitting in that Maruti, remember those stories? It was raining and Kejriwal is the great hero. Now what has happened? He's inside jail, probably doing no spot of work, doing Vipassana, which he loves. But his cadres are now on the ground. Instead of just doing governance, they are back on the ground. And right before an election, if you have a cadre-based party like AAP, which is actually growing, remember, AAP is not Congress. Congress is a party in decline. AAP is a party which is surging, almost like the BJP, right? So if you have a surging party and a very charismatic, popular chief minister who has won
But
massive elections.
Ajit, let me be the
in
devil's
Delhi.
advocate. The sort of people we witnessed when Anna Hazare was taken to Tihar, when the entire civil society came out, a lot of people say usme to RSS ke bhi log the, but civil society came out. That sort of a protest has not taken place in Delhi. Let me be the devil's advocate here.
Well, let me put it this way. I mean, he's barely been arrested like 2 days ago, right? Now, on 31st, we'll see when all the cadre chart out all over, then we will see the reaction, number one. Number two, look at the India alliance. It was such a fragile coalition, right? The top 3 players had left it, right? And Nitish Kumar jumped on the other side. Mamata Banerjee got isolated. RLD jumped on the other side. Congress was virtually breaking apart in Maharashtra and every other state we know. Suddenly, all the India alliance groups surrounding AAP, there's a massive sort of what one would call chemistry. Everyone is supporting Arvind Kejriwal, Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi, all the other leaders. So what I'm saying is that it solidifies, it looks like that a boomerang has begun. What was the intention? After all...
No, I have to put this question to Brijesh. You have made a very important statement. Has boomerang begun?
Well,
or is it an overstatement?
Well, I think what has happened is how the extent we'll have to wait and watch. But one thing is for sure that Arvind Kejriwal has become the catalyst.
Are you sure he's going to get sympathy?
Of course, he will. And I'm saying that, he has
not
become...
like Hemant Soren, K. Kavita?
See, those are 2 different cases.
But mind you, KCR's family is not contesting Lok Sabha elections,
Hemant Soren's case was completely different. Arvind Kejriwal is a completely different case. Arvind Kejriwal is a street fighter. They have been practicing guerrilla warfare. They have defeated the party which is in center and the biggest expanding party, most powerful party, not once but twice. What is happening right now is that Arvind Kejriwal is fast turning out to be the catalyst for unity of India Alliance. And now all of a sudden, all the top guns of the India Alliance, which otherwise couldn't find issue to agree on, have readily agreed and lent their support to Arvind Kejriwal. Whether he will become the political symbol, I don't know, because there are a lot of other senior political personalities who would want to don the mantle. But right now, as we speak, Arvind Kejriwal has wittingly, unwittingly became that symbol.
Kejriwal was the single-handedly responsible for taking that sheen away from the UPA. Single-handedly. It was on his mehnat that the Bharatiya Janata Party created a powerful All India edifice. But then today, Arvind Kejriwal is again the man of movement when it comes to the opposition. An entire opposition is united. He will need to fight his case. And the jury is going to be out till it's decided in the court, because the cases of corruption are not decided in newsrooms or on street. The final say is with the judge.